good evening, everybody, and welcome. Welcome to Invisible Condition. It's not all in your head. I'm your host, Jeff Pearson, and today I actually have my beautiful wife with me, Catherine, because we are co-hosting this because it is a special, and for specials, we do things together.
You do things special.
Apparently, yes. And so we are here together, and I want to just say out loud, before we start the show and bring on our amazing guests today, that we want everybody with an invisible condition, no matter what that condition is, to know beyond the shadow of a doubt that you do have a voice, you have a community, and you are never, ever alone. Here at Invisible Condition, we know that it can be, life can be tough sometimes. It's been tough. I have an invisible condition myself that I've lived with for my whole life, since 2 weeks old. That was my first brain surgery at 2 weeks old. We can get into that later. It's been tough for both of us. We've been married 25 years, and it's not all roses. Invisible conditions can be crazy. And so we also know that there is always hope, always. And so that's what our show likes to, that's how we roll around here, hope. And so along with that, we do have an online community called Invisible Condition University that we'll talk about a little bit later. That is helpful for people that are going through invisible conditions. You're not alone. And we have a nonprofit called Hydro with Hope that helps people with my particular condition, which is called hydrocephalus. So if you're interested in that, we'd love to talk to you about that. We'd love to talk to anybody that would like to get the word out about what they do on our show. If you know somebody that wants to maybe have some more exposure, I'd love to talk to them. And we have a mastermind community that we also have. I mean, reach out. It'll all be in the information on the show notes on the show. And so we'd love to meet with you and meet you and know who's watching. Put it in the comments. Let us know. People are watching from all over the place, and we can, here's a little bit of, there we go. There's our main places where we broadcast. We're on several others. If you're on YouTube or Facebook, reach out. Let us know that you're there. We'd love to know who you are, where you're watching from, all the things. If you have a question, if something that one of our guests says during the show strikes something in your brain, you're like, hey, I want to ask him about that. That's the perfect place to comment. So please take advantage of that. And let's bring them on. Let's bring on some guests here. All right. So first we have Dr. Pauline Dillard, who is kind of going to be acting as our co-host today because of the topic of the show. And she's an amazing sponsor of the show, Dunamas Marriages. And so we're going to be, so Pauline and I and Catherine will be kind of asking questions of people, kind of back and forth. Can you just tell people a little bit about who you are? And let's see, let me hold on. That's not what I meant to say. Let's say name, where you grew up, and how long you've lived in Colorado.
I'm Dr. Pauline Dillard, as Jeff said, with Dunamas Marriages. And I grew up in Northern California, which is actually extremely different than Southern California. So most people think of that when I say California, and it's not the same thing at all. I jokingly like to say we grew up in Silicon Valley and not Silicon Valley. So it's, yeah. And my dad worked at United Airlines. So I spent that first 10 years in a little area called Woodside, California, which was kind of down the road from where the San Francisco airport is. Nice. And then when I was 10, we moved even further north onto a 40-acre ranch, which was half almonds and half alfalfa, and kind of grew up in that area until I went to college at Chico State and met my husband there. We ended up here because he worked for a defense company, and they were negotiating a contract with what's called Schriever Air Force Base now. At the time, it was called Falcon. And he was asked to come out here and do these negotiations because the government person, it sounds really strange, but the government person was a woman. And my husband is just like really respectful and kind when he works with women, and they feel really heard and seen. And so they credited him with actually winning the contract, and then asked him to come out here and manage that contract. And that was what year are we in? That was like 26 years ago, 27 years ago.
Love
Yeah,
it.
that
That's
we
awesome.
moved here. Yeah,
Awesome. Well, let's bring on our other guests. But just to clarify for anybody that's not from California, what she said was almonds. I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah.
Just in case I didn't understand that foreign word she said there. The word almonds. Yeah, okay.
It's a little.
Not for the growers, Jeff.
It's a joke amongst friends.
All right.
Yes, it is.
Okay. Now, all right. Lisa and John Sennett, welcome. We're so glad you're here. Tell us a little bit about yourselves. Who are you and where you grew up and how long you've been in Colorado?
Oh, okay. I grew up in a little town in New Mexico, and for anyone wondering, New Mexico is part of the United States. It's not part of Mexico. Sometimes there's a question about that, so I had to get that out of the way. I came here, my first job out of college, I got a job up here, and I've been here ever since, and that was 2020.
Nice. How about you, Lisa?
So I have moved 29 times in my life. I was born in New York, left there. We went to Hawaii, and I was there for 3 years. 6 years old, my parents divorced. My dad stayed in Hawaii, and my mom was from the San Francisco Bay Area. So I moved to the hood in Oakland, California in the 70s. And I went from having a stay-at-home mom to having a single mom and becoming a latchkey kid, having to survive safely on the streets of Oakland from 6 years old on up.
Wow.
Yeah.
Holy smokes. And you came to Colorado?
I've been here 11 and a half years now.
Nice.
All
right. Beautiful. Okay. Well, we're so glad everybody's here. This is going to be amazing. I can't wait to get started. I have one more question for each of you that I like to ask of every guest, and we're just gonna do it now. Depending on the show, we do it at the beginning, sometimes at the end. Today, we're doing it at the beginning. Now, everybody here has had, the name of the show is Invisible Condition. So I have an invisible condition. Everybody here has dealt with some sort of invisible condition, and maybe we'll get into that a little bit later. In the midst, Pauline, we'll start with you. In the midst of the roughest time during dealing with your invisible condition, how do you maintain hope?
Well, part of it is, of course, my faith in Christ and that he's got a plan, and that even when I'm sort of like knocked down because of pain, I have degenerative disc disorder, which can cause really severe pain. But along with that, I also have what's called abdominal cutaneous nerve entrapment syndrome, or ACNIS, which is pain around my abdomen because the nerves get trapped in the muscles. And I've had that the last couple of months, and it can cause some pretty severe pain where anything around my waist can hurt and things like that. And so other than my faith in Christ, two other things give me hope. One is, did I accomplish anything today? I don't care how small it is or what I was able to actually do. Did I get out of bed? Did I get dressed? Could I do anything? And so even if it's a small thing like, oh, I took the garbage out, I'm like, that's hope because I accomplished something. Yep. And the other is, my husband is very kind when I'm in pain and when I have issues surrounding my pain. And so he doesn't get on me, and this is part of the marriage stuff with invisible conditions too, is that when you know how to be caring for each other's hearts, you can be kind in the midst of it. So he often is the one that he just keeps me like calm, I guess, because he doesn't get frustrated or upset by it.
I love it. That's perfect. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And we know Mike, he's great. I mean, that's perfect. That's a perfect answer. So Lisa, John, I mean, you could answer together, answer individually, figure out who's going first, but same question to you, when life hits the fan and you're going through it, how do you maintain hope?
Well, for me, it's always been God. He since I was 6 years old, kept me alive on the streets. I have a very close speaking relationship with him. So it literally saved my life on the daily. So I have no problem with hope. Even with all my past traumas, like every single time, it never shook my hope and faith in God. And he is my source and my unwavering source. And so that really kept me pretty much sane my whole life and alive.
Yeah. Yep. I can relate.
What about you, John?
So I'm kind of with Pauline on this one. When I, start feeling down or going through a rough time or something, I like my to-do list. I like actually being productive. It's a great distraction.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the time, you feel kind of accomplished. You've done something. It might have nothing to do with what you needed to do or what you need to do or anything like that. But you have at least a little bit of a sense of accomplishment for getting something done, even though, life is rough or whatnot. So
I love it.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
That's perfect. All right. Well, I'm so glad. I always love asking the question and I never know the answer I'm going to get, but so far they've all been great answers. So it's great. It's wonderful. So let's get started here. Pauline, how did you, we're here to talk about marriage, we're talking here to, in part, and how invisible conditions kind of intertwine with that, because obviously they do, everything does. And so how did you get started doing heart connected counseling?
So I was actually doing my graduate work in Christian clinical psychology through South Florida Bible College. I was in the doctoral studies portion. And as I was reading marriage counseling, I had to do about 4 classes on that. I literally was reading the textbooks like this. Okay, that's never going to work. Okay, that's never going to work. Because at that point, I had been married around 25 years already. And, we had done a little bit of counseling together here and there, but mostly I had done individual counseling because, like Lisa, I have a background with traumas and things as well. So then I saw a counselor speak about this model of counseling, and I'd never seen or heard anything like it. There was nothing in the textbooks about it, nothing. And I went home and I said to my husband, would you mind going ahead and going through this with me? It's different. I can't explain it, but I think that I would really like to do this. And he agreed because it was an intensive. So it was just, we just had to go for 5 days, 3 hours a day. And when we got in there, I was the one who was probably the most nervous about it. Like, oh my God, I'm going to get called out on my stuff, so, which I did. But it was so different because it taught Mike and I how to know each other's heart pain, what our language was and how to speak to it and how to care for each other's hearts. And then he also taught us how to do this 30 minutes a day. And it was just so phenomenal. It just totally flipped everything with our marriage. And we had been married, like I said, around 25, 26 years already. And so then my husband ran into our counselor and he said to Mike, does Pauline know that I train counselors to do this? Now, my husband never said anything about what I was doing. He just felt like, do what God leads you to do, be where God wants you to be. But he came home and he said, how can you know this and not do it with other people? And that just really struck me. This has to be from God because he never comments on that stuff. So that was when I went and trained in it. And it was I had told God even before all of this, I don't want to be a marriage counselor because at that time success rates were 10 to 15% for marriage counseling. And counselors thought that was okay. And I thought that was pretty ridiculous. But then when I learned this model, I realized just tell God something, just tell God no, to something. And he's going to make sure you understand what his plan is. So, and so I have an 83% success rate with this model of connecting to care. So that was kind of how I got started in it. And a lot of people also noticed a difference in how Mike and I were relating to each other, even though we didn't have a terrible marriage, where there was just this area in the middle of our hearts that we didn't quite know how to get into. And it really taught us how to do that too.
Nice. And this many years later, you are going to be celebrating 43?
43 years in May. We've been married 43 years. So
something's working, right? I mean, obviously
it is. I mean, it doesn't mean we still don't fall into our old traps now and then, but we have to stop ourselves and just go, hey, wait a minute. It's, I will tell you, part of being married so long too is like a lot of it is just like not that important anymore, that everything we thought was so critical is sort of like whatever, but also knowing how to care for, well, from my side, for his heart, when he's having a bad day, makes a huge difference.
Yeah. It does.
Yeah.
And especially with now, I know well, we'll get into that in a minute. With as far as and I want to ask you, Lisa and John, about this too. But I mean, as far as how this is so cool. The reason this is cool is because we are all connected to Pauline somehow within her counseling world and all the things that she's been doing over the last several years. Catherine and I, what you want to tell them what year was it? It was 2000. I think it was 2008, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was 2008. Jeff's brother-in-law was also learning to do some counseling, and also came across this, similar, same method. And, he and Jeff's sister went through the process together. And so then Jeff's sister is like, Jeff, you got to try this. You and Catherine, you really got to try this, method of counseling. And
she's my sister. I'm like, okay, whatever. Sure. We're fine. We've been married 9 years. We don't have problems yet. We've only been 9. Come on, we're good. And she's like, no, really. You need to check this out. And she would not shut up until we called somebody in the area. And so we looked, and there was 2 or 3 counselors in the area, and we met with one. It was like, and then we said, oh well, let's call Pauline. That's the last, that she's one of them on the list. Let's
the last resort.
It was probably just alphabetical, or I don't know what it was. But
Pauline also has a really excellent knowledge and understanding of nutrition and how that impacts the mental health areas. And so at the time, I was also very interested in nutrition and natural health. And so that really drew me to Dr. Pauline. And so we ended up going.
Fine.
Right?
Let's do it.
What's good can always be better.
You can always improve. So I called and got everything set up, and I was like, all right, let's do it. I was excited.
I was like, how many hours? For how many?
What's happening? What? Yeah. So anyway, long story short, we went for 5 or 6 sessions, and I was a little tougher nut to crack. It took me a long time to get it. Took her a lot less time. She's pretty smart. Took me a lot longer to get it, and then I finally figured it out, and we were able to learn a lot of the things that we needed to learn and the tools that we were equipped with, and we'll get into this later, a little more detail about this later, everybody. But it's that's kind of how. And then we started. I started helping with branding with Dunamas Center, and then we started teaching childbirth classes of all things with her, which was totally out of the blue, except not for God. So that lasted a few years, and so we've been working with Pauline for a long time. And so
right.
And then we were invited by Lisa to
before we go into Lisa, I just want to say this one thing, Jeff. Jeff and Catherine know this now, but they were like my second clients on this marriage counseling. So they didn't even know they were one of my fake it till you make it clients. and they still got success out of it.
You did great.
Yeah. And we're still here. And we still talk to her and everything. Pauline, we love Pauline. I tell just about everybody. I mean, I talk about Pauline all the time. She's one of the few business cards I carry with me still to this day and hand out to people. So yeah, I can't say enough good things about Pauline or Dunamas Marriages. It's all good. So, and which is why I invited her when Lisa reached out to have me and Catherine on her show. I was like, Pauline, come, you got to check this out. And so that's how we met. Lisa, why don't you go ahead and talk? What I mean, yeah. How did you meet us, and how did you meet Pauline?
Yeah, so you chose your other guest to be Pauline, and I had no idea who she was or what she did. You know, I always just get whoever on my show. I didn't know any expectations whatsoever, and we never have an agenda on the show. And I exclaimed at her fabulous wedding ring. Her man did phenomenal. She blinds everyone in the room when she walks
It's my
in.
replacement ring, and I earned it.
Yes. So I gushed on that, loved her immediately on the show. It was fabulous. And then just as you guys were explaining what, you know, your story, Jeff, is phenomenal. Unpacking that on the show was great. And then, Pauline, I had never heard of heart-based therapy, counseling, anything like that. And that really spoke to me. I thought that was really cool. But I thought, oh, it can't be for me, because I just didn't think I could afford it or whatever. I was just like, well, okay, whatever. But God talked to her and Dr. Pauline. So she came up to me at the end of the show and offered to meet with John and I if we were open to it. And I went home and mentioned it to John. And I said, I really think, because he's high logic. He's like a software engineer day and a dance instructor at night. So, you know, for him, I thought, oh my gosh, heart-based would be that's amazing, because I didn't know how to get us to a heart-based level, especially with my past traumas. So I thought it would really work well. I love the idea of it, had no idea the details of it, but I love the idea of heart-centered work to connect with your spouse.
Yeah,
exactly. And sorry, go ahead, Pauline.
I was just going to say, Lisa, why don't you name your show? Nobody said the name of your show. So
yes.
that we
So it's we're 2 years in now, the Be Encouraged show with Frank and Lisa.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes. It's awesome. And I wanted to go back for a second, because I know Catherine didn't get to talk about this specifically, but there was a really cool moment during our counseling. And this speaks to Pauline and her being able to dive in and just be there and care for people during this process. There was a point during the counseling that Catherine had a conversation with Pauline. I just wanted to see if you guys wanted to highlight that a little, because it was really cool.
It was actually past the counseling. You guys were
training
to do, you were training to do the birth education, and Catherine was there one evening doing some work with me and just was struggling. So if you want to go to there.
Yeah, there was an emotional struggle. And as I brought up the conversation, I probably didn't even realize necessarily that it was to do with Jeff's invisible condition, because his invisible condition involves multiple brain surgeries throughout his life. I can't remember if we said that already.
Yeah, I don't remember if we touched on that, but I've had 7 brain surgeries starting at 2 weeks old and going through about 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's been an interesting time around here.
Yeah, and so understandably, all those brain surgeries, that makes an impact on the brain and how it functions and what what it can do or
not do
or not do. And so I was kind of expressing those frustrations and challenges with Dr. Pauline, and she really reminded me. She's like, you know what, you might need to grieve the loss of what you thought your life might look like. We tend to have a view of or an expectation, an anticipation of, I think my life's going to look like this, and I'm going to have, these accomplishments and these, circumstances in my life. And when challenges come up and circumstances change, we indeed, we need to grieve the loss of what we thought was going to happen and move and shift towards, accepting what is and or, what will be in the future. And so Dr. Pauline just really spoke into that situation really eloquently. I'm trying to remember. I think you mentioned the forgiveness work too, didn't you, at the time?
Yeah, because sometimes people don't even realize when they have that image of what they think their life should going to be like, and it doesn't turn out that way. They can even have anger with God that why didn't that happen? And so, no, God doesn't need our forgiveness, but when we have a bitterness there, it keeps our relationship with him blocked a little bit. And so we work through that. And even though Jeff couldn't help that he was born with a condition, it wasn't his fault. There still needed to be some forgiveness work surrounding him, his condition, and things like that. And we don't even realize sometimes that we're carrying a bitterness. It has to do with how is my heart interpreting it? Because logically in my brain, and Catherine knew in her brain, he couldn't help it. He wasn't doing anything intentionally wrong or trying to be stuck away from her or to be focused on his condition more or whatever. So that was really one of my first times working with how is this condition affecting a marriage? And then how does it affect and impact the non-damaged, for lack of a better word, person? And then how do you help them, that person, be seen? And then how do we help the person who's got the condition to get off themselves too, so that they can see that the spouse has a heart need? And so that kind of all came into play around that situation.
Yep.
So it was very interesting to be able to take the tools that I teach and then show them how to work it with that specifically.
Yeah. And it genuinely made a difference. It really, those realizations, and the prayer and the forgiveness work, just, I think, made a huge difference in how we moved forward in our marriage.
Yep. For sure. Definitely.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I just wanted to get that out there because this is part, and you heard Pauline say a lot of things that she talks about in her counseling. And we'll, maybe we can get into this in the second segment too, but it's not just, okay, what's the story? And okay, here's some fixes. It's getting to the root of things and actually caring for the person and caring for where they are and it's so different. From anything we've seen before. So
right. And I'm wondering with John and Lisa, what how they felt it helped with some of the conditions they came in with, because we're all damaged people. It's just 100%. A fact, Yep. So we come in with our damage, and then people don't want to address that. So I was wondering how they felt about that impact.
Yep.
Well, obviously it helps. I think the biggest thing was it helps you understand each other, right? Mm-hmm. The fact that you do have something going on or whatnot, and that's causing you to not be yourself or whatnot. Just that was the first thing for me, and all that was just the understanding on both sides, right? Me understanding her a little bit better, her understanding me a little bit better. So, knowledge is power, and to me that was the big thing out of that when we first started. So.
And for me, that day one Wheel of Pain test, I literally speak on that. I network a lot in the city, and I have with Pauline's permission, of course, and I have her listed up there with Dunamas Marriages in her name, because I am like, this Wheel of Pain completely changed my whole situation. And I have a picture of me in the center and how I explain I've really experienced everything on this wheel. And then I looked over at John's, and his looked like a normal bicycle wheel. And I'm like, you can be honest here. Like, I really thought he was holding back. He was not, being true to whatever. Like, I really thought everyone was like me, like just jacked up. I mean, I really did. And then
I know.
Pauline's like, no, you're, Lisa, I've had like maybe 2% of you. And he's
Wow.
Oh, that doesn't mean I wasn't
Right.
there too.
yeah,
It's
he
just-
has his own stuff.
Right. Because it doesn't matter how many of those things a person has, it's how big the impact of what they have is.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
you can have just a few, but if it's a big pain in those areas, it's going to impact how you react. And so maybe, Jeff, we'll put it on the, when you post the video, we can put the picture there so people can see what we're talking about.
And the other thing is, as I mentioned, knowledge about each other, but also knowledge about ourselves and our own pain wheels or,
Yeah.
triggers
Yeah.
or whatnot. So,
And I do agree that the knowledge is the beginning of power.
Yes.
But it's what you actually do with that knowledge. That's the power. And so that's the tools and the different things that we'll continue to talk about. That's what you do with that power, that knowledge to create power, to change.
Yeah. Well, and it's true. And with everybody, the commonality we have here, besides the commonality of working with Pauline, is we all have some sort of invisible condition or some sort of association with somebody with an invisible condition. And so she has never had surgery or anything. I've had 15. I'm making up for the rest of them. I'll just have all of them. You don't have to have any. So so we all have something. And so, but at the same time, we've all accomplished so many things. I mean, Pauline's been helping so many people over the years. We've got organizations that we're working with and hosting a TV show and doing different things and raising 3 children and getting them off to, being adulting and all the things. It's a life. It's a busy life. And Lisa and John, they're the show and your new show. You've got another one that not just the one with Frank, not just the Be Encouraged show with Frank and Lisa. You've got a new one. And so you can talk about that if you want. We can plug that. It's a big deal. People with invisible conditions are rocking it. And that's why I love having people on my show, is because that's who I want to highlight, are people that are kicking butt and taking names, despite having some sort of invisible condition, because it's not just possible, it's probable. It's out there for you. So Lisa, why don't you tell us about that other show? I know we didn't talk about it before, but what's the new show?
Yeah. So the new show, it's called My Resilience Reveal with Lisa Sinnott podcast. And it's just taken off. It's amazing. It's me uplifting other people's resilience story and them sharing how they got up out of that situation and the tools and resources that they used as well. But healing comes from talking about all of that. And I realized that working very closely with Pauline, because I literally thought, when I thought, oh my gosh, I could do it all. I was used to having the perfect mask on every day. But after 50 years of doing that, everything just came to a stop with me and I couldn't handle it anymore. And then God revealed to me that it was all on resilience. And he told me to begin this resilience platform. So this January, I started the podcast and I've got a wait list. I mean, people are just so hungry to get their story out and how they did it. And as long as they're safe enough to be able to get their story out, because like for me, I can't reveal a lot of my story. Pauline and John are the only humans that truly know everything. And that was healing for me too. I didn't have a podcast to do it, of course, but and I can't, just because certain predators are still in my life. And I have a laundry list of people whose predators are still in their life too. And they're so hungry. And they're like, Lisa, as soon as I can do this with you, I'm going to do it because the hunger's there.
I love that. That's so cool. I mean, it's true. It's similar to, I mean, our shows are, we've blown up over the last couple of years too. I mean, it's amazing the content people are hungry for. People love hearing. I'm not surprised that your podcast is exploding, because it's what people want to hear, and people love the stories. I mean, for those of you that are watching, if this is your first time watching, thank you for being here. This is so I'm so glad you're here, and I would invite you, go to YouTube, go to Facebook, set that reminder so that it'll tell you when the next show is on, and watch some of these stories. Go back. We've been on the air since April 4th of 2023. We're almost 2 years in here, and we've had so many amazing stories, and there's a list of people that we're waiting to get on the show too, and it's so cool. And I love telling these stories, and I'm so thankful that we're all here doing this. So this is going to be great. And we're not done yet, so we're going to go to a break here, but don't go anywhere. Stay right there. We're going to have some testimonial stuff on the other side, because obviously this works really well. And so we're going to have a testimonial on the other side here that will show you some of the power of this amazing counseling. And, stick around, don't go anywhere, and we'll see you in just a few minutes.
Hey everybody, Craig Tominini here, founder and CEO of Ask Craig T, and I wanted to do a quick reminder about our podcast every Friday, 9 o'clock Mountain Standard Time. You can find us on YouTube and on all of our social media platforms, so be sure you tune in. Don't miss all the valuable information we're going to give you about how to scale your business using technology.
Hey there. You know, every time someone comes into your business or website and uses their card to pay, a percentage of that gets folded back into the system. But it can go to Hydro with Hope instead. If you'd like your business to support us rather than feed back into the system, scan the QR code and we'll show you how to do that while saving your business money.
Hi everyone, I'm Andy.
And I'm Minna.
We're the hosts of Chronically Healthy Life.
Join us Fridays at 7 p.m. Central Time on Vitality TV to see how we flip the idea of chronic on its head and create chronic health in our bodies, minds, finances, and relationships right here on E360 TV.
Hey everybody, we're back, and I want to take this opportunity to highlight our sponsor, Dunamas Marriages, and just struggling marriages often lead to a dramatic sense of disconnection from your spouse, right? That can seem suffocating sometimes. And even if your marriage is doing pretty well, like we talked about earlier in the show, like we're fine, we haven't been married long enough to hate each other yet, it's all good. So even then, there is a way for you to thrive, not just survive, no matter what. So Dunamas Marriages believes that God designed marriages to be lifelong, heart-connected journeys, and they're here to help you get there. Pauline is here to help you get there. Located in Colorado Springs, their faith-based marriage intensives have an 83% success rate, like she said. I'm going to just throw that out there one more time. 83% success rate. Most traditional marriage counseling has about a 10% success rate. You do the math, okay? And so, led by Dr. Pauline, who you heard earlier in the show, if you were watching, that she's had almost 43 years of marital success behind this. Typically, marriage counseling is more of a once a week for an hour, for the rest of your life kind of thing, or for many years. And sometimes it just doesn't go anywhere. So the intensive model that Dr. Pauline uses brings couples together. Each session's about 2 to 3 hours, and conducted over 5 to 6 sessions. And so it's very, very effective. The time you invest in a marriage intensive will combine biblical truth with proven psychological principles to restore communication, trust, intimacy. At Dunamas Marriages, they don't just treat symptoms. They equip you with the tools so that you don't have to go back once a week for the rest of your life to building a thriving, Christ-centered marriage. So,
yep, absolutely. And I'm sure we'll get into more of that as we go on.
If you're ready to break free from the frustration and rekindle your relationship God's way, act now. Do it now. Visit dunamasmarriages.com today. That's DUNAMAS marriages.com, and take the first step towards a stronger, more fulfilling marriage. Build your marriage on a solid foundation and enjoy your spouse like you never thought possible. It's pretty awesome. So, right?
Absolutely.
Pretty stinking cool.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Yeah, do it now. Do it now. Okay, everybody, here we are. We are back. And I think we were going to play a video of one of your couples that you have worked with. Do you want to tell us anything about this one, or should we just play it and you can kind of...
Well, the only thing I was going to say was you had mentioned earlier, Jeff, in the first segment, that it is very different, and you were just talking about that, and this couple speaks to that in particular.
Nice. All right, here we go, everybody. Who is this couple? What's their names?
Oh, Andy and Gwenna. It may not come up correctly, but Andy and Gwenna.
Andy and Gwenna. Okay, here we go.
I think this has been different because working with Dr. Pauline, it was so helpful to be asked very specific questions, and she would dig into our past and even help us to unravel a comment that we had made or something from our past. She did a great job helping us to see what was behind it, whereas in other marriage counseling, it was very general. We were in a large group, so there wasn't the one-on-one connection that we were able to have.
All right. Awesome.
Yeah. So that was one of the things that, I thought maybe Lisa and John could speak to too, is what was different for them, or, that type of thing, and see what they have to say.
Yeah.
Well, I was the one who was like, I will never do marriage counseling. I am on my third marriage. I tried so hard to do counseling with the other two husbands, and I got ran over every single session, every single therapist, you name it. Either it's wearing the rank in the room. It was just awful. And so I was so desperate to have a healthy marriage with John, but I knew that I did not have that wisdom. Like, I had no idea. So I, out of just pure love for John, said, I'm going to do marriage therapy for us. Like, that's brought me into the room to be open to do it. But that first step was huge for me. So I was a little terrified sitting in the room at the beginning.
Yeah.
She was. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I can imagine. It can be intimidating sometimes. So what, just throwing this out there, tool or what exercise or what was one or two things that you learned during your time with Pauline that was like, oh man, I'm going to use that every stinking day, or like that was really valuable to you? Lisa and John.
I have a lot, but you go ahead. I don't want to be the only one speaking. Okay, so, well, for me, and this is, I had to go separately with Pauline too. So I'm both ways because I'm just a hot mess. So I needed extra help. But to me, a really good tool that I use is the dandelion, whatever one, where you look at and see what the dandelions are doing, and that you just observe, and then you go from there. Like, you check in, you're observing what's happening, but you don't have to react. You don't, I was so used to doing opposite of that. So for me, it was very healthy. That particular exercise, I use that almost on the daily, is really like studying the situation, not reacting, because I am an opinionated person. And it served me well in the past, but not because obviously 2 men left me. So there's that.
I mean,
so let me comment on that, Jeff. Okay. When I work with a couple, about 5% of the time, I may have to break them out for a short season. I'm not here to develop long-term counseling with anybody, because ain't nobody got time for that, first of all. And second of all, we need to just get healed and get on with what God wants us to be doing. But occasionally I have to break one of them out because they may have developed through trauma personality disorder. I mean, not a diagnosis, but just the way they react to things. So what Lisa is talking about is a type of therapy called dialectical behavior therapy, which helps people. There's a lot of different worksheets to help them see their impact on the situation, what they're bringing into the situation, and how they can change their response. So that was one of the exercises that she had through that. And it's really interesting to me because every time I do this with a client, which I've, done it with a few, every client has a different worksheet that impacts their life. And so for her, it was that one. And for other people, it's just the, observing inside and outside. And, it's really interesting to me to see how people do that. And then she had mentioned earlier too, that I'm very much into nutrition, how it helps the brain to work. So sometimes when I do the marriage counseling and we can't get it in, then I'll do some nutritional assessments. I'll look at how is the brain functioning and maybe what supplements will help their brain to heal so that they can take in the message from their spouse better. But one thing I don't really believe is I don't believe anybody has a Prozac deficiency. So,
yep. I've told that to people on shows all the time. Look, you're not depressed because you have a Zoloft deficiency in your system. It's more than that. That's not the answer. Okay. Yeah.
And on that note, Jeff, I worked with a couple where she came in and she was just like, I am just like so depressed. I just don't know what to do. And I taught them the tools, how to care for each other's hearts, and the understanding that was mentioned about that even Gwenna mentioned in the video, taking the past and understanding its impact on the present and then moving it forward. And I would say maybe 2 weeks after she did the counseling, I saw her and she's like, I'm not depressed anymore.
Nice.
And it was just gaining that understanding and knowing that you're not messed up, that there is hope, as we said earlier. And I think, Lisa, you found hope in that too, didn't you?
I did. Yeah. And just the knowledge that I don't have to react. Mm-hmm. It's safe, and knowing that John loves me, and not being terrified of him abandoning me was huge. So I lean into that on the daily, just like, nope, he's not going to leave me. Nope, he's not going to do this or that. I'm just, and that was the other thing is me innocently not knowing that I was doing it, but pinning my past to him. and like, oh, I already know he's going to do XYZ because this happened when I was 6 years old, or this happened in marriage number 1 or whatever. And he was just like this innocent bystander. And I felt so bad when I realized all that, because it's like not giving him a shot. And because I was like, because it did serve me well, like on the streets of Oakland, staying alive and all that, being very reactive and assertive and stuff. But when it comes to marriage, like really looking at his heart, and that he's not like them. He's not going to be a predator like that to me.
Yeah. And I do want to say one other thing. Just I feel like we made a couple comments kind of in jest about medication. I'm not trying to throw the pharmaceutical industry under the bus or anything. Some people are taking medications and they need it. Okay. I'm not trying to tell you that nobody should ever have to take a medication ever. We're not making light of that or anything like that. I get it. There are certain conditions out there that medications can be very valuable, and we just in this realm, in the realm of being heart connected with your spouse, drugs are not necessarily part of the equation. This is not about what are you taking. It's about how are you connecting with that other person. And so if there happens to be medication in the mix, so be it. I'm not trying to. I just don't want to get a bunch of hate mail.
Don't send Jeff hate mail because I said it. But basically, what I'm finding is a lot of times people are on medication because the spouses don't know how to care for their hearts, and so not knowing the right thing to say or not knowing how to care for the other person properly, they're like, just take a drug. And when I work with a lot of those clients, they can get off the drug because now the spouse knows the right way to talk to the heart and feels effective. I'm not even blaming the spouse for not knowing, because they want to. They just don't know how to do it, and they don't know how to be effective. So I've had some pretty good success with just that, them learning how to be cared for and allowing themselves to be cared for. That's a little bit of what Lisa was talking about. She wouldn't allow herself to be cared for. So
kind of on that note, on my side of the coin, I also broke out with Pauline and did some one-on-ones with her as well. And that one was more focused on what I could help do to, care for her, what I could do to care for her, to not trigger any of this stuff, even though I was never going to leave her or do any of this other stuff.
Right.
Sometimes good intentions aren't enough. You have to show that. And she was very good about, again, I'm the logical brain and whatnot, and her helping me learn how to focus to care for her and what's happened in her past, and how to make things good going forward. So,
well, and John tends to be more quiet. So for someone like me who has all these fears of knowing, oh, this is going to happen, he's methodically planning on leaving me because now he's not talking to me or whatever. Like, I'm way on the extreme he's just like tired from a day's work or something. You know what I mean? Like, he's living normal in his brain, and I'm like, whoa, he's got me on the Amtrak back to California somewhere, freaking out. It's right. But knowing, okay, no, I do a lot of self-talk now. And I have to, because the triggers are there. Like I try to tell people, because people come to me all the time on resilience, their stories and stuff. And it's like, all that stuff, it doesn't really go away. I mean, I sometimes I'm like, and Pauline helps me being brave on verbalizing also that I'm feeling triggered or premeditated. Okay, we're going here and we know this person's going to be there. So please, let's be careful on where Lisa's at tonight.
Yeah.
Check in with me, squeeze my hand, something to check in to make sure I'm cool, because, and me and my brain left alone sometimes in situations is not that great.
And, John and Lisa each brought up a point that I try to have people understand before they even come into my office. The first one was when Lisa said she kept getting blamed in the counseling and the other person was, not there. Well, you know what? You're each 50% of the problem. We just have to figure out what your 50% looks like. John's was that quiet, not knowing how to care for it. And, hers was the, always being ready to fight or flight. So it's like, those are the 50%, and we have to learn how to care about the other person and not react. And then John's point was logic is never going to heal a heart. No. So logical people always want to say, well, I just think if they do this or that. I had one of those many years ago who just kept saying, well, I just think if she would do this and that. I finally looked at him and I said, okay, how's that been working out for you so far in your marriage? Because if what you logically think she should be doing worked, you wouldn't even be in my office. So how about you let me run the counseling office and we get to the problem and fix it? And he was like, okay. All right. So I will call you out if it's not working.
But
yes, you will.
Pauline, that test that you did though, with all the squiggles and stuff, that made sense to you. I don't know what it was, but you were able to say, oh, well, and it was really spot on. Like
you're talking about the Taylor-Johnson temperament analysis. We call it the TJTA. And it really shows where you're starting from as far as how you react when you're in pain, when your pain buttons get hit. And then how do you react to each other when you're hitting each other's pain buttons? So that's what she's talking about.
Yeah.
And it shows me like how depressed you get, how anxious you get. Do you use being social to avoid? Do you shut down? Do you lose empathy? Do you have rejection pain that's really high? And, how hostile do you get? How angry, how dominant, or how, submissive. And then how impulsive are you in the marriage? And then I just look at how you're doing that with each other. And what I'm actually teaching you then is how to stay out of that. So,
well, and so I'm with John in that logic space.
Yes.
Yes.
It could be either the man or the woman. That's
why they're wearing blue today. No, I'm just kidding.
It's all about blue.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, and so from that logic headspace, I actually really appreciated that TJTA analysis because it just opened my eyes to how insightful Dr. Pauline was in looking at that. I think that was the logical side of me. I was like, oh my gosh, if she can pinpoint that just from looking at those numbers and the graph, I'm in. She's got something to share with me. So.
My funniest response to that was an airline pilot who flew international flights. And he looked at it and there's like, the wife, you might see that he does whatever this much and he sees that he's here. And the airline pilot goes, so what you're saying to me is the delta of the differences. And I was like, sure. I mean,
okay, sure.
Again, he obviously was the logical one. But it helped him to understand, how they were affecting each other.
So I think that was the amazing thing Pauline really did was she bridged that gap of two people who think completely differently, regardless of past stuff, just the way they think, and was able to bridge that gap for us. So
good.
Totally. And so you John and Lisa, you just, or you're maybe not even finished it. You're like in the process still, and you're just on the tail end of what you very recently experienced this counseling. We went in 2008. It's been a while. It's been almost 17 years.
Wow.
So what are we still using? Because we are, by the way, this never goes away. And it affects the kids too. They don't know it yet. Shh, don't tell them. But it affects them too. But what is your biggest takeaway still?
To Jeff's point, he's right. It's been a lot of years since we've gone through, the intensive, how many hours per day? Right. It's been, like you said, 15, 16, 17 years ago. And we do still absolutely use the tools, not as so when you first start, there's conscious effort, right? It's like, oh yeah, she taught us, to sit and look at each other and, and connect and, say certain things to, encourage and edify the other person. And as the years go on, those things really start to become kind of ingrained. They're really more second nature, if
everyday conversation type of stuff.
Yeah. If, I see, Jeff is, if he's triggered, or if he's, I know that you don't care for the word triggered, but if he's not really feeling himself, that's where I'm like, I more naturally step into care, like, tell me what's going on, let's talk it through. Let's, and step into that caring heart space. And the other, I want to mention too, the other thing that I use a lot is the forgiveness prayer.
Yes.
Specifically, that Dr. Pauline taught us, because I have found it to be so incredibly effective at reducing those hurts. I don't know if I won't use the word trauma, because I don't feel like trauma necessarily describes that for me, but some of those deep-seated, hurts and pains that sometimes I don't even realize is there until I explode at somebody that doesn't deserve it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I've got pain there that I really need to process through with the forgiveness prayer.
Because the thing is, it doesn't, 17 years later, we still go through stuff. We still have to use that. It's not that when you go through this method of counseling that you're cured. You're never going to have to deal with anything ever your whole life.
Yeah.
You're going to be trudging through crap your whole life. It's true. It still happens. Now you have tools. That's
exactly.
So, yeah.
I'm so glad that you brought up the forgiveness work, because it does apply to the children. And actually, Pauline, I can't wait till I talk to you again, but I just came back from Dallas with my daughter, and I implemented that forgiveness, and I rocked it. I mean, phenomenal mic drop moments. Pauline, you would have just been astounded with me. It was just amazing.
Always proud of you.
This is my Black Stallion daughter who, went to 2 teen challenges and is just a challenge. We all usually have one of those children, and she is the one. And it was just, I was able to use these tools, and I have used the tools. I'm trying to mend my relationship with my sister, and just once you do this heart work with your spouse, it can totally bleed out in a good way to everybody around you. Even on the podcast, it helps me with people.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
Because, one of the things that I do talk about in the counseling that bleeds out is that I talk about everybody has a little boy and a little girl inside of them that carries their pain. And when we do understand that for our spouse, you do start to see it in other people. You start to realize, oh, that's their little girl or their little boy expressing some sort of a pain. That's not personal against me. I must have just hit a pain button for that person that I didn't intend to. And so I can care about that without compromising myself. I can at least be consciously caring about what happened to them, even if I don't know what it is. And it's really funny because I do use this one a lot when people are talking to me and I'm not in my office and I'm not going to dig in deep. It's like, wow, I can hear that was really hard for you. And I'm sorry that was hard for you. And even just a statement like that helps people know, oh, I heard the pain message and I showed some care. Yep. Now, I'm not going to, like, Lisa, you're not on your show going to go, so tell me about your 5-year-old who went through it. But you can at least go, wow, that sounds like that was a really tough thing, or like you've been through some hard things, or, something like that, just to let them know you heard it.
Well, and the identifying of how that person must have felt and verbalizing those pain, and then saying, am I correct in that? And checking in, and then will you choose to forgive me for causing you to feel abandoned? You know, that is like crazy good. It's so powerful.
So what you both talked about is it's not only like, how do you forgive other people, forgive God, forgive yourself, but it's also, how do I ask for forgiveness in a way that the other person knows I truly understand the pain I caused. And that if we tend to do I'm sorry, okay? Well, that doesn't sound like you really understand what you did. That doesn't sound like I care about the damage I might have caused or the pain. It also sounds like I might just do it again. And, but if I said, wow, I was wrong for doing that. And like Lisa said, it caused you to feel abandoned or not cared for or whatever. Now you have a hope that because I understand the damage, I'm less likely to keep repeating it.
Yes. But it is okay. Pauline worked with me on this part, is figuring out I can fail and fail again, but at least I go back and still say, I'm so sorry. I screwed up again. I'm so sorry. I caused you to feel frustrated with me leaving the room again. I did not intend for that in any way. I'm sorry. You know what I mean? I mean, just really from the heart, like identifying, because I was so used to well, why is he so angry? I didn't mean it that way. He should know I didn't mean it that way. I really thought that, like, you know what I'm saying? But he truly, if I step myself out of the whole equation and actually be like, okay, John really felt hurt for this. Like, what did he feel? I guess what he felt. And then I verbalize it. And then sometimes he helps me know, but I did feel super sad about that or disappointed or whatever. And then, and then I can have something tangible to go walk away with after I ask for forgiveness and then work on being better the next time.
Yeah. And you're talking about what we call the golden rule in Christianity, which, is do unto others as you would have them do unto you. So we have a tendency as human beings to say, well, I like this, so that's what I'm going to do for the other person. But that's not what it means at all. It means I understand that I like this and I want people to do this for me, but the other person wants something different. And so I need to do that for them. I need to do it the way they need it. And Lisa, that's what you were describing, that you're learning and you've been learning and you have learned, is that he should just know, well, no, his brain doesn't work the same as yours. He doesn't have the same pains. He's not going to react the same way. So you have to figure out what that is and then do that for him.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. I wanted to take it just a second here. And we're talking about all these concepts, all these things that people are learning. And anybody watching, if you're going, where do I find this? Where do I do this? Like, what are we actually talking about? So I'm going to put a visual on the screen here, and I want Pauline to talk about it, because this is part of what we're talking about. This is
right.
Everybody wants a thriving, anybody that wants to keep their marriage wants a thriving marriage. If they're just like, oh, I just married my next ex-wife, okay, maybe not, but for anybody that wants their marriage to last forever, blueprint for a thriving marriage. Yeah. There we go.
So the tools, and that you have to kind of know where you want to go too. And so everything that I've been doing for the past years, the tools that I've been teaching, and I'm still doing the marriage counseling, so people can still come in and see me, but I am getting older. And so I'm, not going to be doing this forever. So I finally was able to put all of those tools and everything that people need to do into a workbook. And currently you can get a PDF downloadable at the website, dunamasmarriages.com/products. You'll find it easier that way. But I'm also finishing up the editing on the back cover, and then it'll be available as a print and ship through Lulu, which you go to the website, and when it's available there, that link will show up there as well. So you as couples, you would each need your own copy, can go through, and it's not just a book about marriage. It's actually the marriage intensive in a book. So, you're not just going to learn what to do. You're going to actually do exercises. And then I now also will do consultation appointments. So if you had a question or you wanted me to go through something with you, you could actually sign up on my website for a consultation appointment.
Beautiful. And so I'm not sure how I'm going to do this. Let me see here. I was going to put Dunamasmarriages.com is where you want to go.
Right.
If I put the graphic up there, it's going to go right across John and Lisa's face, and I don't want to do that. So we want to keep them there. So maybe before we go to a break in about 5 minutes, I'll put it back up there so all of you can scan the QR code and learn more about when that will be available and be able to get a hold of when it's available. So yeah.
Can I say one thing on what Pauline just mentioned with the one-off counseling stuff? So when we started digging in and working and really rolling up our sleeves and doing the workbook and stuff, we were landing on some landmines within each other, and we 100% had to call her. Like, we reeled ourselves back into her office so quick because
we'd get stuck. We'd get totally stuck.
We felt like, oh, wait. So if that happens to people, it's okay to call for help. I mean, it's, some people think they could do it themselves. And, but that was I was so grateful for that. I'm still grateful for that because, I mean, we came in pretty red hot into her office. And by the time we walked out, it was like, okay, he's not leaving me. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, I was like, oh, this is it.
Right. And, and it's really great because I've learned as a counselor, I don't take you guys personally. So, because, they come in hot, they yell at each other, not just John and Lisa, but other clients, they'll yell at each other, and then I'll say something and they'll turn around and they'll yell at me. And I'll just be like, okay, deep breath. This isn't really about me but it is about those pain buttons again, and those pain words and the areas that we've hit, and how do we calm those down? So none of that bothers me.
Exactly. And that web of pain is huge, man. That was huge. It's like the wheel of what's the other one? That's the wheel of, I don't know. It's like the wheel of emotions or something. I don't know if that's the official name, but it's got like 3 or 4 at the very center, at the core.
Jeff, that web of pain, I actually have a free downloadable on the website as well. Yes. Where they can download that and they can do that on their own, and they can see what we're talking about. It's called the Web of Pain. And they also then can download like a free hour to meet with me if they wanted to talk to me first and get to know a little bit about what would happen for them, or how I'd approach their stuff. They can also do an appointment with that assessment you guys were talking about. That I do charge for, but they could do the assessment and then they could meet with me and I'd go over it with them if they wanted to just see what was going on. Beautiful. So now I have some things available before you actually commit to the full intensive.
Yes.
You want a sample, right? A taste test?
Yeah, a little taste test, so to speak.
Yeah, sometimes that's good because not a lot of people do that. You can't usually go and get a sample of the counselor you're going to go see. It's like, can we meet for 10 minutes? No, I'm going to charge you for that. Yeah. So so this is huge. And that'll be on the show notes and everything. Well, in the info,
it'll all be there.
We'll have it all listed there so you can access it.
And it does matter who you go to for your marriage counseling. You really do want to find out as much as you can. I mean, I had a couple come into my office on the very first day. They told me they had gone to another counselor who was a Christian counseling, and it was a married couple that was doing counseling. And on the very first day, the very first thing that happened was the man took the husband in a room and the wife took the wife in the room. And the very first question they asked him was, "What's your exit strategy?"
Oh, jeez.
And they said, "Our exit strategy is we're leaving you, the counselor."
Yeah, we're out.
Yeah. And then they found out about me and they came in and I'm like, exit strategy? I don't have an exit strategy. I have a figure this thing out because our marriages are supposed to honor God. So let's do that. I couldn't believe it that they were claiming to be Christians. And that was shocking. But anyway, I don't know what because I get clients from all over the United States now, and I can do it on Zoom. Let's not forget to mention that.
Yes, you do it remotely, and that's kind of the cool part now is we didn't have that capability when we were cavemen way back in 2000, back in the dark ages.
Back in the dark ages,
and go into that tiny little office you had and You know?
Oh yeah, they came into my first counseling office, which was, I don't know, 12 by 12 or something.
That was a
10
tiny
by
little
10.
room. Like an
It was a
interrogation
little
room.
It worked.
Yeah.
It worked.
The playing table and then the walls. Yeah.
Oh, it was great. It was good.
Yeah.
It was funny because I set everything up. I was so excited to get everything set up. I think you commented on this one time over the years, Pauline. You're like, yeah, Jeff, you were all excited to get in here. And then you were the toughest nut to crack, man. You were the one that would not let go and like took forever. So yeah, sometimes that's how it goes. So
it is really funny. Often day 4 is when a lot of people get it, on day 4.
Yeah.
And they're tired on that day too. Cause like the 3 hours I'm not, cause I do it all the time, but, so I came up with a way to split it over 2 weeks. It's exhausting.
Yeah. It can be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm just sitting there going, go ahead, yawn. Let's get back to it.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, back to the masks, I think everyone naturally puts on this mask to include in front of their spouses and family members and trying to just put the best foot forward, but they're not truly looking within. So that's why, to me, it was so exhausting, was really looking internally into me. I didn't know what I needed or what my problem was. Like, I just knew I needed help.
Yep.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. And even I don't always hit it immediately correctly. I generally, it's just like I'm fishing and hoping I'm in the right pond. But just because I've been doing this so long, you say, no, it's not that. And you tell me something else. Oh, then I have an idea of how to shift. Whereas you may not know that yet until you learn the tools. How do I shift from that to what it might actually be?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right on. This is so good. I'm excited. By the way, everybody, I hope you're taking notes. I'm just going to throw that out there. If you're not taking notes, back it up when it's pre-record, when it's, not live, and take some notes.
Right.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And so we are going to go to one more break, and then we'll be back with another amazing testimonial. And then we're gonna talk about some more really cool stuff. I mean, we're not done yet. So everybody stick around. Do not go anywhere, and we'll see you in just a few minutes.
Hi, I'm Jake, co-founder and CEO of One Hope. My friends and I started this company in 2007 out of the back of this truck on a mission to enrich people's lives through wine. Today, we've grown into a state-of-the-art Napa Valley winery that proudly houses a portfolio of award-winning wines which have touched lives through over 40,000 nonprofits at home and around the globe. And it's happening every day. Being rooted in local communities and contributing to initiatives that uplift neighborhoods, celebrate cultures, and promote community. It's what got us here. You see, through every bottle sold, your purchase can make a direct impact on the causes you care about. One Hope's cause of choice has given back over $10 million and counting.
Tired of losing cell service in dead zones? Concerned about connectivity in emergencies? There is now an answer. Introducing the Love Pod. The world's first affordable encrypted global internet Wi-Fi hotspot connects with multiple service carrier networks and is satellite assisted when no service carrier networks are available. So it works virtually anytime, anywhere. Connect up to 9 devices, like our cell phone, laptop, desktop, TV, security cam, and more. Stream, chat, text, download, and make phone calls, all with no roaming fees. With mesh capability, the Love Pods will grow in strength and speed with each new pod activated to create a private terrestrial-based intranet called Love Global Network. The Love Pods are dual blockchain encrypted with Love's proprietary 2048-bit cube chain encryption, giving you the ultimate protection in data privacy and security against digital attacks and hacks to your devices. You are no longer tracked, and your data is never sold. Get the Love Pod, your private, encrypted, portable global internet Wi-Fi hotspot, and stay safe and stay connected.
Hey, how you doing? My name is Greg Russell. I'm the host of TechnologyTuesday.com. You can find us on the Conscious Business TV network every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the latest resources to help you make more money in your business. Join us on E360 TV. Come on.
All right. Oops. Wait. There we go. That's what I meant to do. That's the one. Welcome back, everybody. Before we bring Pauline and John and Lisa back, we want to talk about Invisible Condition University, or ICU for short. That's right. We did that on purpose. Don't worry. I know. We want to kind of flip the script on ICU. It shouldn't necessarily be a terrible place to dread going. So, Invisible Condition University empowers you to face whatever invisible condition you or a loved one may be facing by providing a community that listens, that cares, that walks with you. You know, no matter what you're going through, you'll be part of a community that meets twice a month. So you can have a safe place. We don't broadcast it anywhere. It's literally, we keep it. It's in an archive, and you can access past times to if you want to. It is safe. We don't broadcast it. Safe place for you, your loved one, your caregiver, to ask questions. You know, get support, or just find hope. You know, sometimes that's all we need. Just give me some hope. So this is something that I wish we would have had 10 years ago, right? I mean, I've been through 4 brain surgeries and 2 others since 2013. 13? Oh, 13. Yeah. Oh no. Yeah, she remembers. So it's been an interesting few years there, and you know, we want to include everybody. So bring your caregiver, bring your mom, whoever you want to include on the call. It's only $17 a month, and you'll get the first month for free. Try us out. Give us a shot, you know, and as that's my gift to you, you know, free month. So invisibleconditionuniversity.com, scan the QR code. There it is. And the next time we will be meeting for ICU will be March 18th at 3 p.m. Mountain Time, which is 2 Pacific and 4 Central. I got to remember to put those in there. So there you go, everybody. Can't wait to see you there. And we will, let's bring everybody back here. Pauline, John, and Lisa.
I have to say, while you talked about the ICU, invisible condition, I also thought of ICU.
Exactly.
So let's
not on that.
Right. It's a place where you'll be seen and heard.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes, we do see you. Well, that's part of what we talked about at the beginning of the show. You do have a voice. You do have a community, and you are never, ever alone with an invisible condition, because we see you, you know? So, yep. Good call. Good job.
I don't have a doctorate for nothing.
I didn't catch on to that until a little bit later, and somebody said, "Oh yeah, we could do that too." I said, "Oh, that's good." So yeah. All right. So here we go. We're gonna play another testimonial video because it's cool. It's a really cool video, and so I will play it, and then Pauline can talk about it a little bit on the other side. So here we go.
Part of Pauline's marital counseling had the greatest impact?
For me, the part of her counseling that I loved the best was the words that she gave me and the way that she adjusted how I would approach him. You know, I would say something and I had an idea that I wanted to say, but she would help to explain how I could say it in a way that would be productive. and perhaps not be attacking or unkind. And so for me, just that redirect of wording and body language too, actually, to the way to look at him, not to cry, not to cry when he was sharing how he felt. I would always start crying. I don't know why. And so it was helpful just to have that counsel of, okay, this is the way to approach someone in an effective way so you can get what you're looking for.
Yeah, the part that impacted me the most actually was when we were doing the role playing, like you were saying. So Dr. Pauline would have me look Christy in the eye and then start to say a sentence back. And the first couple of times my eyes would dart away. She'd say, no, keep looking her in the eyes. And it was hard, but it was super, super powerful. And I mean, it brought me to tears as well, but just to be able to have that role playing, to say, hey, here's how you need to say this, here's what you want to do, and here's how you want to approach this, was a big deal. I mean, I'd never learned that before. So it was really, really impressive for me.
All right. That's good stuff. That's good stuff. Is there anything you wanted to touch on that one, or anything specific?
Well, the thing about that was, with most marriage counseling, they tell you what to do and stuff. But what I'm actually doing in the counseling that they're talking about is I'm actually coaching you to do it right here in the office. And that's what they are mentioning with the role play and all of that, is to take the tool. Because, I could say, how to have a really healthy marriage? Just go home and care for each other's hearts. So what are you going to do? But what does that look like? What does that sound like? And Christy was mentioning like posture, like how am I sitting? Am I crossing my arms? Am I leaning forward? And then the reason I told her not to cry is because she would always cry, and then he'd feel like he had to take care of her when it was supposed to be his turn to be taken care of. We have to take turns. And then, he was being more tender and more sensitive to her because he was actually hitting her heart need. So that's what they were talking about, is the actual process in my office of, once we know all of this, I'm actually going to coach you on how to do it.
Nice. Well, and that kind of leads into what I wanted to touch on in the last little while of the show here, is how the heck do we apply all this? Like, okay, so that workbook is not thin, everybody, by the way. It's, it's big. It's a big workbook, and you go through a lot of stuff, and it can be head exploding stuff here. And so how do we
way to put it?
I mean,
it's doable,
but it's totally doable.
Don't worry.
No, it's totally doable. That's why you're in there for 5 or 6 sessions, and that's why you're in there for a good chunk of time each time, because this is new, and people don't know what they don't know, and so you got to learn this. But once you learn it, you can use it. So how do we want to talk about applying this to your life, to your marriage?
So even in the workbook, I put in exercises and questions about how are you feeling inside? And is it keeping you from wanting to actually do for your spouse what you need to do? And so I address that when you're in the office. Okay, I might be, say, directing Catherine to talk to Jeff, because you can only do one direction at a time. This is the other mistake most couples make. I'm going to tell you what I think, and then you're going to tell me what you think. And then I'm going to tell you what I think, and then you're going to tell me what you think. And then you both walk away not feeling heard or listened to. But if Jeff, you're just focusing on her heart, or she's just focusing on your heart, what I do is, once those assessments everybody mentioned, that web of pain that was mentioned, all that forgiveness work that was mentioned, once all that's done and in place, and I really do understand your heart language, I start teaching you how to talk to it with each other. So that's where, if I was telling Catherine, say this or that, and Jeff responds in a way that triggers her pain button, I have to stop her, because it's not her turn. And if we don't finish out our turn, we just get this back and forth. But you don't listen to me, but you don't hear me. And I want to be heard, and I want to be heard. So that's kind of also what Randy was talking about, was really focusing on the other person's heart, and the heart is in the eyes. So that was why I made him, and it was hard, because we either have trouble giving love or we have trouble receiving love. And it's all in whether or not we can stay focused on looking at the other person.
Well, that's part of why, when you're doing it, it's
like that. It's just like that.
Boom.
Right. And if I was gonna, can I give you a coaching question, Jeff? Since you're the okay, look, go back to that posture. This will just show people what I'm gonna do. Look at Catherine. Ask her this question.
We're both in there? Okay.
Yeah. Have I ever
it disappears. Okay.
Yeah. Have I ever asked you what you went through when I had the surgeries?
Have I ever asked you what you went through when I had the surgeries?
Not that I remember.
I want to understand that better.
I want to understand that better.
Okay, I'm going to stop there just because it would get a little bit too intimate. But I'm
right. We're gonna. You don't get that for the no.
No.
That's
okay.
not part of the show.
What I would do at this point is I would direct Jeff into how to really understand Catherine's heart language, just around that one issue. Now she just said, no, you've never asked me. So now they know what their next homework assignment is. Anyway, tell me.
It never stops. We're 17 years later.
I know. But he would need to ask her questions like, at what point did you feel that way? Or, how did you feel when they took me in the room? And, what did that cause you to feel? And, and he might even say to her, he's like, I am so sorry you had to go through that. Not his fault. Not his fault, but it's okay to acknowledge that was really hard. Just like a lot of what Lisa mentioned, not John's fault, but it's okay for him to say, I'm really sorry that you had to go through all of that. And I'm going to be here in this way now so that she can get some encouragement about, like she said, learning that he's not going anywhere. He can just reassure her. He may have to reassure her every 5 minutes for the next 3 weeks. I am not going anywhere, just until she believes him. But, that's just a small sample of how I take information and then help you guys learn how to talk about it. Yeah. So I was going to be respectful. I didn't.
No, I appreciate that. No,
thank you for playing along.
You gave us enough to talk about already. Thanks, Pauline.
Yeah. She's good at that.
I think that super practical guidance, it's
yes.
Like, say this.
Yeah. We don't know what we don't know.
Right? Sometimes, you think that you've lived 40 some years and you know how to ask a question, but sometimes we don't know how to ask a question so that it reaches the heart of the matter figuratively and speaking with our spouse, to really care for that maybe one particular issue. So to even have that really practical guidance is huge.
Yeah.
I'm guessing, Pauline, is not something that other counselors do much, right?
John, what you were going to say something?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I was going to say effective communication is difficult sometimes.
Yes. Well, because what we think is effective. Yeah, because I might think, well, I'll just say it this way and they should just understand what I mean.
Yeah.
But Lisa was explaining how, she had to learn John's brain doesn't work the same. And that's okay. I just have to figure out how to respect how his brain works. But he also has to learn how to respect how her brain works and go after it. And see, the reason I intentionally asked that question, Jeff, is because invisible conditions. A lot of times the people with the invisible condition don't think to ask the other person how it's impacting them or how it did impact them because they feel guilty almost. If you say, like her saying, no, you never asked me. You don't need to feel guilty. You just acknowledge it and move on to addressing it and caring about it.
Right. Yeah, no, and I'm not going to lie. I did. And when she said that, I was like, ooh.
Ouch. I know.
but okay. Now, 16 years ago, that probably would have ended more. That would have been worse. Okay. I'm just going to be real. That would not have gone well 16 years ago in your office. If if that was a question, if that had applied at that time, in the emotional state that we were in at the time, I don't think that would have gone well because we didn't know what we didn't know. Now, okay, we can address that. All right. We'll talk about that later. And it's not, I'm not worried about, oh my gosh, I did this wrong. And what am I, it's not that kind of thing. So it's so valuable. It affects every aspect of everything.
It really does. It really does. And when it's the one person who's supposed to be caring if they start flying off on their own stuff, you guys, I don't know how tough I was at that time, but I'm pretty tough about, okay, stop, take a deep breath. And I literally now say, suck it up. It's not your turn. And then people go, okay. But when it is their turn, then they need to be able to freely express however they're feeling. And the other person has to like suck it up and listen and care about it. So I've gotten kind of crotchety in my old age a little bit, but
well, the thing is, what you do here, you do everywhere. So it applies. It applies to everything. It's not
it
just.
does.
It's not just you and I sitting in a room by ourselves talking and we can use this tool now. But when we leave the room and the kids come in or we go to the grocery store or whatever, it applies everywhere. Like I was saying earlier, the show, the kids don't even know. Kids don't even know we're doing it. Applying it to them, and they're feeling the benefit and the effects of some of this caring for them on that level. When we do, and so it's pretty cool.
But if they did know that, I think it would touch their hearts, and they would love that you're trying so hard for your relationship with them.
And don't misunderstand. We've definitely talked about it. They know full well what we've learned, and they've all met Pauline, and we've all hung out. They are fully in the know about what's happening, but it's just funny because they're not conscious of it all the time, and so every once in a while they'll be like, "Ooh."
And when we first learned these techniques from Dr. Pauline, the kids were very little.
Yeah.
Our youngest,
we didn't.
That's another story, but our youngest was like born the year after that we met with Pauline, and so they were very little, and so. But it was really fascinating to be able to, as the kids were growing up, as they were getting older, every once in a while, one of the kids would just have a meltdown, a temper tantrum, crying, and I would look and I would go, and I would look at you and I'm like, I don't think this is really about this particular issue. I think this is a heart pain that is causing this explosion. And so instead of maybe brushing it off, dismissing it, calling them defensive or emotional or whatever, I could just say, kind of like what Pauline was talking about earlier. It's like, wow, sounds like this really hurt you. And it sounds like maybe this is the emotion that you experienced. And, be able to address that, even with a young child, elementary, middle school,
they can feel it.
Yeah. I think that really made a difference for each of them as they grew up. So I don't know if that's really the direction we wanted to go, but
it's the direction it went. It's all good. It's all right.
My children were adults by the time my husband and I did it, so we'd already damaged them. But we did have to cycle back on some of it, and and they did respond. But I just find in general, that calmness that I have, that if I'm reacting to somebody, what's going on with my little girl that I'm having a reaction to what that person just did? I don't even have to say a thing. It's like Lisa said, a lot of self-talk, a lot of just, oh, what did that remind my heart of? How old did I feel at that time? And sometimes I go, oh, I feel like I'm 5 years old. Okay, well, I'm not 5, and this is not that person. So I'm really okay, and I can be in control of the situation still.
Yeah, exactly.
So it affects all that. It affects all that for me. For me, anyway, it did. What about you guys, John and Lisa? How are you utilizing it outside of you?
What do you mean? As a couple?
Well, no. How do you each utilize it outside of your
outside of our marriage?
Yeah.
I use it all the time. So I'm a podcaster times 2. So, and I network like mad in the city. So I'm always talking to humans, and my interaction, it serves me well. It's the knowing what I know now with the tools that you gave is very helpful just in general when dealing with humans. I mean, I don't know how else to explain that, but it's helpful because I get a lot of different types of interactions.
Yes.
There's some times where I'm like, whoa, but I have to have boundaries. I get complete strangers coming up to me now. It's sometimes John's like, you don't even know that person, right? And I'm like, nope, but I'm saying hello anyway, because it's just my situation.
Right.
But I mean, you're different. He's a software engineer behind a computer all day, but he has a team,
I still
right?
have interactions with coworkers and bosses and managers and all that. So maybe not as much per day as you do, but I still have, I still have to play nice with everyone and I have understanding of what other people are trying or go through or trying to communicate and that kind of stuff. So.
Well, I also know, John, like you're a dance instructor and you do dance competitions. And this year you guys have decided you can compete together, which is
all right.
Something where you're like maybe a little more in sync. I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there and seeing what you guys think of that.
Yes, we're very excited about that. Well, it took a lot of courage for me to finally get there in my psyche. It took 3 years for me to finally say, okay, now I'm ready to jump into the pool. But knowing that, we both know that there's going to be many, many, many landmines happening. So because we're in the dance world, because, he's got multiple students, one-to-one teaching, behind closed doors, just all the things that can set me off.
Well, these have been issues for a while now, not just because of the competing.
Yeah, but now it's multiplied because, we have a lot of practices to do with multiple students but it does give us more time together, which is the quality time aspect of it. But I feel we have been very conscious of, if we're going to go out dancing, if he's going to go, to a dance class to teach or whatever, he gives me a kiss goodbye. He's more thoughtful. And then I try to make myself busy, not paying attention to what song he's playing when they're dancing, all the misinterpretations that can be happening in my brain. It's a thing. So just knowing it's a thing, I implement the tools on the daily with this situation with the dance world because it is, every lover in my life cheated on me and it's a thing. It is a thing.
Not every lover.
Not
every lover.
He's right there. He's in the room, man. Okay.
Well, the other interesting thing going on in the dancing right now is that we're actually doing a showcase piece with another dance instructor or another pair of dance instructors. So, and in this piece, it's interesting because we have to change partners and we end up dancing with everyone else. So there's been, that's been kind of a new dynamic too, that we've had to learn to deal with and use these tools on. And
well, that's good. That'll help it. You'll just be more relaxed. You'll probably even appear more relaxed in your dancing if you're using the tools and not tensing up.
Yes,
nice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, John
Very
and Lisa,
cool.
what we've got a few minutes left. I just kind of wanted to wrap up the show by just, asking, what's the most valuable thing you've taken away and maybe anything that you want to leave, if somebody were saying, geez, why would I call Pauline? What would be the benefit? Because they haven't watched the rest of the show, maybe they, why would I call Dunamas Marriages? What would you tell them?
Do you want to go first?
No, you can go first.
Okay. Well, I'm always talking about it. So, I love the whole model and it changed my life. But it's the first step is identifying the need, that it's worth putting in the work. It's like working out, it's worth putting in the work. And if you're at the point where you just want to give up and, you're at your wit's end, there are tools, but you have to be open to doing the work, to really putting yourself aside and putting your spouse ahead of you, and be willing to work. I mean, it is a thing. I mean, I was so desperate to not lose John, and I wanted a healthy marriage. It's not like we were like having bad marital problems, but I knew all of a sudden I was at hitting a wall consistently on a monthly basis. And I'm like, okay, something's up, but I didn't know what that was. And that's where the Dunamas Marriages, all that transformed the whole game plan for us, because we did not know what we didn't know. Right. I mean, we really were at our wits' end. Like, we did not know, but we loved each other. Like, we didn't want to end, you know what I mean? And the way of the world is just push the easy button out and exit. And I knew that's not what I wanted. I married him because I love him, and I was willing to do anything to save our marriage because I know that he loves me. But then there's all this other stuff inside of me too that was reacting to past stuff that, you know, was cropping up, and the tools helped.
Awesome. Well, and who says that's the easy button?
I was talking about the world.
No, I understand what you're saying, but like leaving your spouse, I know people think that's an easy escape plan, but that's not always easy, you know. So
it's not.
So that can be tough too. What about you, Pauline? What?
Well, John was gonna.
Yes, I'm sorry.
For me, I think the most valuable tool is the learning to focus on each other without bringing ourselves into it, right? Truly focusing on the other person. And that was the most valuable tool, but that was also probably the hardest one to learn. So getting there is difficult, but once you get there,
it is
so invaluable.
Right. Right.
There he goes. All right. Pauline, what do you want to close us out for anything? Any last thoughts? Last things you want to impart to the audience?
Well, I do think that, to me, it's the best way to fix a marriage out there. And if you are thinking of divorce, even I've, kept some people, if you're already on the steps of divorce court and you're challenging me, like I dare you to make my marriage work, then please don't, because I'm not going to fight harder than you. You have to be ready to fight for your marriage, and I'm here to fight with you. And I care very, very deeply about your marriage, and I care very deeply about God's plan for marriages. And I really believe that as Christians, as we all are, our marriages are supposed to be an example of God to the world. So if you are finding, and I had somebody ask me, hey, I'm not a Christian, but all I see from Christian marriages is they're no different than the world. So we should be different. And this is a model that can help your marriage look different to other people and really be an example of God, Christ, and the church.
Yeah.
That's what I would,
I love that. It's true. Yeah. As Christians, it's true. That is, we are to be set apart. Yeah. And if we have the same divorce rate as everybody else.
We don't, but it's still way too high.
It is. It is.
Yeah, it's like about 38%, and that's way too high for the church.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, this has been so cool, and I'm so thankful for you, John and Lisa, and for Dr. Pauline.
Thank you guys.
Thank you so much for being here, and we're just glad that we could pull everybody together to bring this message to you. We wanted to showcase our. We just love Dunamas Marriages. We love Pauline, and we wanted to showcase this to you out there, and so that you know that there's a better way. So
I'm shocked. Thank you. I love all you guys. I mean, I think that they picked up on how much I absolutely really care for the people who are in my office, how much I really do bring that, I want to love you like Christ loved you, and really show you his love in the process. Yeah. And so that's sometimes why I'm just so abrupt, because Jesus loved that way too. He just called it out.
Yeah.
Exactly. So,
and one other thing that I would like to say that we really love about Dr. Pauline is the impact, right? We love the impact that it's had, her willingness to guide us with this style of, intensive counseling has made such an impact, for us. It's been over lots of years, and
generations to come.
Yeah, and for Lord willing, for generations. And so, if you would love to see that type of impact, start for you and your marriage, contact her, reach out, feel free to, do the Web of Pain and, set up time to meet with her. Yep. I would really encourage anyone listening who even is just even a little intrigued, do it.
Yeah. Exactly.
I'll be abrupt too. Do it.
Yep. Exactly. So,
yep.
All right. Hey, Dr. Pauline, John, Lisa, thank you so much for being here. We so appreciate you taking the time and getting this out to our audience. Thank you so much. We are almost out of time, but I just wanted to thank you. So appreciate you. Thank you for being here.
Thanks, everyone.
You're welcome. Thank you, Jeff, Catherine, John, Lisa.
All right. Here we go, everybody. So I didn't say that I wanted them to stick around because we want to talk to them on the show after the show. So everybody stick around. Don't go anywhere. I should have said that before. Okay.
Stick in the green room.
Stick in the green room so we can talk later, just for a minute or two. Okay, everybody. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. This has been awesome. I am so glad that you are here, and that if this is your first time here, thank you. Thank you for taking the time and being here with us. If you are watching any of these places, I'm sure everybody's familiar with social media. If you want to comment, if you want to hey, light bulb, something went off, something clicked, and you want to ask a question of Pauline, comment in the on YouTube, on Facebook, wherever. And then also, if you want to go scan that QR code, that's another good way to contact Pauline and get in touch with her. So definitely thank you so much for watching. And one more thing that I just have to throw out. If you've noticed the cool mug that I've been drinking out of during the show, I just wanted to throw that out. Shameless plug. If anybody wants one, scan the QR code. They're fun. It's good. And then, you can have something to drink along with me. That sounded really bad. It's usually coffee. Don't worry. It's just coffee. Wow. Welcome to live TV, everybody. This is fantastic. Okay. All right. We're done. I so appreciate you for being here. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And, catch us. Yeah, go ahead.
Come check out the regularly scheduled programming as well.
Yes.
Hope you enjoyed this 2-hour special, and check out the 1-hour shows, which are broadcast on what time?
They are every Tuesday and every Friday at 9 Pacific, 11 Central, and we'd love to have you. In fact, you go to the YouTube channel and set the reminder, and then you'll never miss one. It'll ding every time we're going to have another show. So, so appreciate you being here. I'm going to put this up one more time just in case. So you got about 10 seconds, and we're going to take it down. So scan the QR code, talk to Pauline. You will not regret it. It'll be the best call you've ever made. So, all right, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. Have an amazing day, and we'll see you next time.